everybody. Welcome to Textiles and Tea with the Handweavers Guild of America. I am Kathy Group. I am your host today. Well, welcome everyone. We want to thank our sponsor today, which is the Weavers Guild of the North Shore. We always appreciate guilds jumping in there and being a sponsor for this episode. Thank you so much, Weavers Guild. I hope you'll enjoy. As always, if you would, put your questions in the Q&A and not in the chat. I can't always see the chat, and I'd hate to miss a good question. Keep using chat. We like that. You've got great comments, and we want to see them, but put your questions in the Q&A. Today, we are excited to have Line Dufour. Line is a textile artist, tapestry weaver, and writer. Her work has been featured in international exhibits, including the American Textile Museum, the Textile Museum of Canada, the Kentucky Museum of Art and Craft, and in the A Través de la Vida exhibit in Colombia. Several publications have highlighted her tapestries, including Tapestry by Barty Phillips, Art is the Cloth by Micala Sidore, and her artwork has just come out in the front, back, and inside covers of the Queen's Quarterly Winter 2025 issue. Fate, Destiny, and Self-Determination, a tapestry installation designed and managed by Line, has been featured in Fiber Art Now, Hand Eye Magazine, fibreQuarterly, and more. And we're going to talk about it today also. Hey, Line.
Hi, Kathy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're excited you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start off with a big question. What is your favorite tea?
Cardamom.
Cardamom?
Yeah.
Really?
Love it.
I have never tried that. That goes on the list. I got to try that one now.
All right.
If you would, tell us how you got started in fiber.
I was maybe about 18 or 19, and I was walking down the street one day, and I looked into a store window, and I saw a weaving loom, even though I didn't know what it was. I felt the earth move, you know, the sky shake, just like that Carole King song, and it was maybe 10 years before I was able to move in that direction and make it a reality. It was sort of the universe saying, pay attention. This is something that's important and will be important in your life. So.
Well, it really must have impacted you, because so many people are like, oh, I want to do that. And then 10 years later, they don't pick it up. But you did, huh?
Yes. It was one of those divine intervention moments, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this first piece we're going to look at is called The Plastic Oceans. And I love it because you've used actual plastic in the spaces between the weavings parts. So would you talk some more about this work?
Sure. First of all, I might have to use my notes, since I don't think talking is my forte. It's actually being an artist and writing. I'm better at that. But
whatever you need to do is fine.
Thanks. In the last 10 years, my work has focused on issues that impact us socially and environmentally. So an assortment of plastic materials were introduced in the weft, some of them spun and woven in, non-food plastic bags, packaging, and plastic wrap. And between the three tapestries, plastic bits, pieces, and filaments float. Plastic bottle caps, cut-up yogurt containers, plastic bread ties, broken reflectors, plastic knitting for fruits and vegetables. And some areas of the tapestry fluoresce, because I used fluorescent thread as well. It's pretty hard hitting when you learn that 400 million tons of plastic are produced annually and accounts for 80% of our marine debris, which translates approximately to 14 million tons ending up in the oceans annually. So, of course, the prevalence and toxicity of these materials threatens not only our marine species, but our food supply, health, tourism, and contributes to climate change, and will affect the health of not only ourselves, but our offspring.
So you wanted to include the plastic into the work, and you can't really tell by looking at it. So is the plastic in the weaving also, or is it just the pieces in between?
So the red, where you see red in the tapestry, that's plastic. Plastic mesh bags have been woven in there. Also, plastic newspaper bags in the blue sections and turquoise sections.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's real plastic. At the bottom, in the larger panel, you see It's almost like a Rhea knot, but using plastic, like saran wrap and plastic wrap. Again, not for food, it hasn't been with food on it. So it's a more sort of a relief there.
Mhm.
So it's very evident when you stop and milk bags, were used also and woven in. So yeah, it was challenging, but I felt it was a good challenge.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Um, this next image, I wanted you to talk some about, I love how you've used the warp in a different way. This is called paradigm shift. And it really changes with the warp that stays in there, the openness of it, and it really makes a strong statement. So why the combination of the woven and the not woven? What is the message there?
Well, I think the reason for leaving some parts unwoven varies for
Uh-huh.
each tapestry, so we'll see a few more as we progress. But the idea came to me with my larger installation, the Fate Project, where the main tapestry, certain areas of the main tapestry have holes in it. So that wasn't done by cutting out holes in the tapestry.
Mhm.
That had to be planned for, like technically, to not weave in those areas and then find a way to secure the holes in the tapestry. So that's when I started thinking about, not the entire warp of a tapestry. I like the tension that's created by juxtaposing, something that's taken a long time to weave with patches of open areas through which threads run vertically through the composition. This interplay of open and closed spaces evokes both fluidity and disruption. The transition from woven sections to hanging loose threads is a metaphor for the shifting balance of emotion and reason, chaos and order, control and freedom, confinement and liberation. It's a change. It's all in this particular piece, paradigm shift. I think most of us know what that means. It's like there's like aha moment for us at different times in our life, and in this piece, that's what I'm trying to express. That something that happens to you impacts you and changes the course of your life and the choices that you make thereafter. But,
And I also like that you didn't just let the threads hang down, that
yeah.
there's that curve to it. That really is different also. I like that.
Hmm. Thank you.
Well, we're going to talk, I want to talk some more about openings and slits in your work because this next one's called Ambiguous Deliberations.
Hmm.
So what's the difference for you than having a solid tapestry and then breaking it, or you could break it up and you chose to do that and you do it often. What is the difference for you there? What was the attraction of that? I mean, is it just visual? Is it symbolic? Is it both?
Well, I think before I started this series, I had done a lot of research of what was being done in tapestry. At that time, it was in the 1980s. And so I was really looking to see what had been done and what had not been done. I wanted still to honor, the tradition of tapestry weaving. So I didn't want to necessarily not use the technique of tapestry weaving.
Mhm.
So this piece, I remember I had created the maquette and out of colored paper, black paper, and used oil pastels to create the design. Um, um, and I didn't intentionally create slits just for the aesthetic effect of creating them. It began with a paper maquette that hung on my wall for a couple of years before it became paired with an image. And I like to play with how the tapestry occupies space in an untraditional way. That is to say, not just to be presented on a flat wall as a two-dimensional piece, but occupy 3 dimensions. So that became very central in this series of tapestries. I've been working on what I call the Turbulent series, of which Ambiguous Deliberations is the first of that series for the last 40 years, and they all have that black foundation. That black foundation sort of, references Jean Lursac. He used a lot of black in the background and then jewel-like tones in the symbols and imagery that he dispersed in the tapestry. For me, this tapestry series expresses how emotions occupy our bodies. And another element, emotions are always shifting and changing. They're not something that are always permanent. And in the same way, the tapestry can be shown in about 3 or 4 different ways. So it's to show that, it's shifting all the time.
So how big is this piece? Because I can see there's a camera behind it. So I'm curious,
It's
how big
about
is this?
20 feet by 8 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's much bigger than I thought it would be.
So
Wow.
the way I wove it was two panels of 4 feet. And then, I just, created the slit as I was weaving the 4-foot panels and then sewed them together at the top because they weren't slit right to the top. There was like a heading that I maintained there on both sides.
I love how the background becomes part of the work. Like this purple. I love this purple. But then I was thinking, well, what if it was in a white room or what if it was in a beige room or whatever? So
Yeah,
the background really becomes part of it, doesn't it?
that's right. Yeah. And again, the curator can display it as they want to display it. So it gives
Uh-huh.
them some agency as well.
This next one is called Heartstrings.
Yeah.
And I love this one. It was so pretty. And this is one that's in the Museo Casa Leras in Bogota, Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Many of your tapestries have been exhibited abroad. So what is the attraction of an international exhibit? Because I'm sure it's not easy getting the materials there and getting it back and everything.
Okay. I was going to mention that a bit later, but the first thing is that to me, getting ready for a solo show is very limiting. So, it really takes a lot of your time to prepare all this work that has to have some kind of has to have a unifying theme, unifying aesthetic. I can think back to a series that I did called Recollection, which was a series of 24 jacquard woven pieces, 25 really altogether, plus other elements that were included. And that installation took 5 years. So you're talking about, dedicating a lot of time to prepare for one exhibition. I like the idea of entering call for entries because I think it sometimes I'll present a theme. And so it'll generate new ideas for you. But also, I like to meet the other artists, and that's a really big, an important part of the reason why I'm attracted to that.
Well, let's go back, Mandy, if you would bring that piece back up, because I want you to talk about the piece also. It's beautiful. And again, you've used that open warp in this piece. So could
Mm-hmm.
you talk some about this work?
Sure. First of all, it is a map of Colombia,
Oh,
and
okay.
I wanted to refer to its history a little bit, of war and violence and so on and so
Mm.
forth. And so that's a reason. At first, and this is often how it happens, something you've done technically creates a problem. And in this case, I thought the red warp was suitable to be used as warp, but I discovered as I was weaving that it started breaking.
Oh.
And I didn't have time to start all over again, but I decided that that's exactly what needed to happen. Ended up cutting and replacing all the threads of the warp as I was weaving it. So I think it strengthened the theme of the piece, and I was in the end was very pleased with it. So I really advise people to not to dismiss their mistakes.
Happy accidents, right?
Often, and it's happened so frequently with myself, and I think it's, there's a synchronicity at work that you have to um, allow to enter your life, to create something that you hadn't expected, really.
Mhm. Do you recall how big this piece was roughly?
Yeah, all the pieces of that exhibition are 80 centimeters by 80 centimeters. So that's maybe about, I don't know, maybe, you know, maybe not quite 3 feet by 3 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe closer to 2.5. Yeah,
Well, the colors are amazing. They're just beautiful.
thank you.
So this next work, I loved it because the title of it is Gravity, and it's a perfect title for it. When you look at it, you can just feel the gravity pulling the tapestry down toward the floor. So would you talk about how this idea came about?
Yeah. So it is part of the Turbulent series. So it was part of, goes with the ambiguous deliberations. Again, using the slips that you mentioned previously.
Mhm.
Why I ended up calling it gravity was not just because of the scientific effects of gravity here on Earth, but it's more about how we experience grief. Uh, as in, when we feel grief, like in gravity, we feel heavy and pulled down by the weight of the moment, and we feel torn apart and that we are coming undone.
Mm.
So the word gravity describes both the seriousness of the situation as well as a scientifically described force on this planet. The idea for gravity first emerged from a piece of cut paper that I had pinned onto my studio wall. And it was years, and I liked its sculptural possibilities, but had no idea how I was going to translate it into tapestry. Years later, I needed to express my grief at the sudden death of somebody I loved. And so I started with a photo of myself, and when I printed it out, my print cartridge had run out of yellow, another mistake or serendipitous moment, leaving only a black and blue print, and I thought that was perfect. It represented how bruised my heart felt, so I didn't try to reprint it. I cut the photo into 1-inch squares to represent being ripped apart, and then re-glued them so that my portrait was not recognizable. I wove the tapestry as a one panel of 3 feet by 4 feet,
Mm.
leaving woven slits in this, in certain amount of slits, almost like large buttonholes to create the sculpture effect of a 10-foot tapestry. So it's a little bit of cheating there going on.
Oh, that's great
And
that you have all of these serendipities that
yeah,
have worked so well for you.
yes, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, we could talk more about your color because a lot of the colors that you use are so bold and they just grab you. And like this one is called Well-Being. And you said it refers to the colors of the seven chakras.
Mhm.
Now, I'm assuming you choose the colors and their placement not just for their value, I mean, their visual value, or that it's visually pleasing, but that they also have meaning for you. Is that right?
I mean, are you saying that I'm deliberately placing one color against the other?
Or that you use colors because they have meaning for you? Either
Yeah,
one,
that's
yeah.
correct. And this one is, I mean, yeah, I agree. I think color is a very expressive,
Mm.
element or tool that we have. So, it was, in the Turbulent series, it's about our darker feelings, about, what we're struggling with, maybe things that are challenging for us in our life. But in the Well-Being series, it focuses on things that bring us joy, happiness, and so on. So it's addressing body, mind, and spirit and heart being brought in alignment and woven together. So weaving is such a great metaphor for that ongoing practice of maintaining an equilibrium between body, mind, emotions, and the spiritual. And it's about improving relationships not only with others, but with ourselves. So the bright and intense colors represent the pleasant emotions and convey the lightness and energy they bring to our lives. And these in turn correspond to particular focal points in our body. I hoped to bring to the viewer a sense of well-being when they looked at these tapestries. And here I want to point out that what we see emerging in the fragmented and fractured mosaic colors is led me to create the Fade installation, which we'll be seeing later. So this body of work emerged in 2008, and the Fade project emerged about 5 years later after after these were done.
You talk some about the size that you've got, the two bigger and then the two smaller. Now, is
Mhm.
this another piece that you can rearrange and hang it any way you want?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And they're about 5 foot in height, and the
Wow.
two larger ones are about 2.5 feet, and the smaller panels are also 5 feet and about, I'd say, oh gosh, about 13 inches wide.
How do you know the size before you say, okay, this is the size I want? Is it because you want to work in that size, or is it that the theme requires something of that size, or yeah, how do you do that?
I think when I first, started out, I think tapestry has always occupied a large space. It's
Mm.
to be large, and you travel through Europe and you see all these tapestries and all these wonderful museums and chateaus, and it's just a natural. I think we just associate, a large presence with tapestry, and so that's a part of it. I think that I've always struggled to make small tapestries. I have to say but some people are masterly at it and it works very well. For me, it's a real challenge to work small in tapestry. I don't say that I do work small in other mediums, but tapestry is like, I don't know. There's something about it that says it has to be large.
That's so funny because I think the first piece I ever saw of yours was um, something that you entered in small expressions,
Yes.
which has to be small. So that's so
Exactly.
funny. That's so
Yeah.
funny. Well, this piece, I fell in love with this when I saw it. I love this just because it was so simple in a way, but so powerful. So what was the inspiration behind this?
I think it's just so neat that you said that, because I think when I go to tell you, what they stand for, it'll probably say a lot about you and something very positive about you. So here
Good.
we
It's
uh,
all about me.
so it represents the fourth and the fifth chakra. And I had intent, or I'm sorry, I had intent to do all seven, but never seemed to have the time, juggling so many ideas and the commitments of earning a living as a teacher at the time. I think chakras provide us with a physical and a mental paradigm for envisioning our well-being. There are seven chakras, which are considered energy centers in our body, according to some spiritual traditions. And each chakra is associated with different aspects of our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Each chakra also is assigned a color. So with chakra number 4, it is the heart chakra, and it's located at the center of our chest, near our heart. The color assigned to it is green. Its element is air, and as you would expect, the heart chakra is the center of love, compassion, empathy, and connection. So the other one is chakra 7, not, I said 5 before, it's not 5, it's 7. And it's the crown chakra, situated above our head. Its color is violet. So of course it's referencing, our spiritual, our capacity for spiritual experience. And it's about maintaining a connection to the divine, to the universe, or a higher power, if you will. The fourth chakra helps us to bridge the gap between the physical and spiritual aspects of our being through love and compassion, while the seventh chakra represents the ultimate connection to the higher self and the universe.
Well, it's just beautiful. Now, these aren't the two center panels of the previous work, are they?
No, these are
Okay.
much smaller. Yeah, these are
They're
much
much larger?
smaller.
Oh, smaller.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are only about 9 inches wide by about, maybe, oh gosh, it's been a while since I've looked at them. Let me see, maybe about 2 feet high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Now, what are the little squares down at the bottom?
that's my signature.
Ah, okay. I couldn't see them on the other pieces.
No, it's not always evident.
Okay. The one thing I think I love about so many of these pieces that you do is that I was an art student in college, and I used to always say that I thought my best painting I ever did was my palette was just all the paint on it. And whenever I see this, that's what I think of. It's just like, let's have some of this paint and let's have some of this color and how
Yeah.
well they go together.
Yeah.
They just really sing.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, one thing you stated, I was reading some of the articles about you, or maybe this was from your website. You said that you can't touch other people if your work is not arousing your own emotions. And I hear you talk, and you really do have a connection between the work and the inner you. It's not just thinking, oh, I like this. It sounds like you've really connected on a very emotional level. So I was curious, is it hard? Is it taxing? Not hard. Maybe it's taxing to stay that involved with your pieces when you're working on them or designing them?
Uh, I don't know that I'm actually, sorry, actually feeling those things when I'm actually weaving them necessarily.
Uh-huh.
But, they come out of that emotion, whatever emotions they are, I was aroused by, or issues, whatever issues are arousing my emotions. But, it's to me, it's about living sort of as a complete human being. You want to live each day in your wholeness, not just a fraction of who you are. And so in philosophy, they call that sort of ontology. And all that is really is just using your own personal experience and your senses
Mhm.
uh, to to make to make comments about the world, to understand the reason of your existence. That's where existentialism comes, I suppose. So it's all about that. And many artists will tell you that, very well-known artists like Picasso and Georgia Keefe and Marc Chagall all agree that, emotions are really at the center of the art. I like what Georgia O'Keeffe said. She said, I found I could say things with color and shapes that I couldn't say any other way, things I had no words for. And Marc Chagall said, if I create from the heart, nearly everything works. If from the head, almost nothing. And I so agree with that. Um, an artist, I wanted to say an artist is not a factory worker. And if I wanted to do production work, at least I would have been better paid. Uh, maybe even have some benefits. But, and I'm not saying that in a demeaning way at all. When you work on an assembly line or do your repetitive work, your feelings are not required. You are not required to be your complete self. In fact, it's better probably if you are not entirely engaged in the process. So an artist wants to use all of themselves, the rational, the emotional, the physical, the technical. Um, and so I just found it much more tiring and more exhausting when I was not when I was restricted to just being or having to live my life with just a certain role or certain defined roles and not be able to step outside of that, right? So no, it's if anything, it's energizing to let your emotions inform your work. I mean, after all, it is the basis. It helps us to form our rational thinking. I don't want to think about what we would choose to do if we didn't have emotions to help
Mhm.
make those decisions, from being ethical to, you know, to being able to raise a family, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
Did you, when you first started weaving, was that connection always there? You always knew it had to come from your heart?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was like just there. I
That's great.
maybe I was just lucky. Yeah.
Well, I want you to talk some about your designing. I would love to be a fly on the wall to watch how you design. And so we've got 3 images of your design process. So Mandy, let's bring up the first one. And I'm going to just let you talk and
Oh,
stay out of your way.
okay.
So we got one coming up first. Sometimes we have a hard time getting these up. There we go. Okay.
So yeah, I'm glad you brought this one. So this, remember, was gravity. I was trying to explain
Right,
how it
right.
worked, and there you see the paper that was hanging on my studio wall.
Mhm.
And then how I tried to print out an image of myself, but it ended up being just, black and blue.
Right.
How I cut up the image in the third panel from your left.
Mhm.
And the next one was how I wove it. So uh, although that's probably not quite exactly accurate, but it essentially gives you a general idea as to where the slits occurred. Um, it's still not quite accurate. I'd have to show you, but it just gives you an idea of how it was created technically.
So it sounds like, at least for this piece, the designing was very much hands-on, like
It's
working with it. It wasn't like drawn out ahead of time or on a computer.
no,
Okay.
it's very much maybe an intuitive process.
Mm.
Yeah, you don't know, and that's I think when you don't try to nail it down, let's say,
Mhm.
it really allows for, other elements to enter into your design that you hadn't thought of before. So I like that intuitive process. And it's about really learning to have the courage to listen to your own inner voice and what it's telling you to do. Even though it may not be something that anybody gets or understands, it's just, you know, believing in, your idea
Mm.
and its validity, I guess.
So when you went like the third image, you've got the squares together, how you want them. Did you use that like a cartoon or did you
That's
just kind of
right.
refer back to it?
That's right. I
A
used
cartoon?
a cartoon. Yeah.
Okay.
Except the fourth panel is a little bit incorrect because I actually wove the tapestry as a 3 foot by 4 foot.
Uh-huh.
So in a way, these are not like what's the word? The proper proportions in terms of where I put the red lights, but it's okay.
This is great to see how this happened. This is wonderful. It's like being in your studio with you.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the second one, Mandy. Let's see how, if, let's see which piece that is.
Okay. So I in my notes, I said, geez, that was like opening a can of worms, asking me how I design things because it's like you, Mandy, it's like once you get, at the beginning playing with color, it's just like you're just jumping all over the place and you've got so many ideas. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. So if the first pieces up there are from art college, and of course there's that pressure to follow the trends of art at the time. And of course, it was more abstract. So I created watercolor paintings, would often cut them up and rejig them and then create the final tapestry image. So those are the first three that you see at the top up there.
Mhm.
Then I really wanted to challenge myself and just to see if I could and I used photographs without any alterations. I just took the actual photograph and worked with the photograph. I still made like like a cartoon in black and white. And what I do when I do the cartoon is I trace out the color areas of that's whatever is being represented. So if it's like a yellow petal, I'll trace out the shape of the petal, then also the gradations of yellow perhaps in the petal with an acetate marker on acetate. Then I'll take the acetate, put a piece of white paper behind it, photocopy it. Then I'll take that black and white contours and I'll blow it up to the size that I want to weave the tapestry. So that'll be my map, if you want to say, of how to weave that tapestry and where to put the colors. So in the center one and also in the bottom image of a man with a child, an infant, I took the actual photographs and just dist distorted it in Photoshop. So this is when I start using a lot more distortion in the images that came after. Oh, and in the final one, sorry, I wasn't seeing it completely. So here you start to see the progression of how I ended up creating the Fate project. So in 2000 and in the bottom image on your left, the tapestry, it was actually a landscape that I put into Photoshop, pixelated it, and I thought, oh, at the time I was going through breast cancer, and I thought, yes, this is it. This is me imagining the cells healing. So the black part is the injury, let's say, to the body, and the rest is the molecules and cells and so on undergoing the transformation and healing. So then you move to the well-being series. So that's again focusing on living a life that is manageable and brings you everything you need in your life. And then, you know, my up until then, tapestry weaving had really been a solitary activity for me. I needed that. I needed that to, I don't know, a cocoon, I guess. But then it's almost like in the process of weaving the well-being series, you know that being part of community and getting your and connecting with others is also an important part. And I started to feel really isolated in the studio. And as you know, tapestry weavers don't live next door, and even in weaving guilds, they're really hard to find. So, anyways, while I was weaving the well-being series, the idea for the Fate project came up, and that it was taped to my studio wall. And that's right beside the well-being series. It was just a sketch of the Fate project that had emerged around the time that I was weaving the well-being series.
Wow.
So it's a progression. I mean, you can see it's a progression, right? And even if
Yeah.
you look at the top, okay, uh, throughout the top ones, they may look like they have nothing in common with what comes next, but it's not true. The top ones are still very much about nature. You know, the center one's called Sunset and Folding Clouds, and this one is A Place in the Sun. You know, so nature was always something that greatly influenced me. So you see that there's a connection, and then, you know, comes to human nature too. Somehow, you know, gets intertwined in all of that as well.
Well, I think we've got one more image about design.
Okay.
No, we don't. I lied. Sorry. But we're going to talk about this piece now, which is fate, destiny, and self-determination. And this is an amazing project because it was you, along with other artists, that you invited in to be part of this project, right?
Sort of, yeah. Sort
Okay,
of. I'm going to just walk you through it. So,
perfect.
but so first you saw the visual progression towards creating it,
Uh-huh.
the aesthetic elements anyway. And the idea for the Fate project emerged, well, I told you, while I was creating the well-being series in 2008. But the idea really had started before that, because as I was playing around with Photoshop, distorting and breaking up the image plane to create cartoons for my tapestry. So if I hadn't even started doing that, I don't even know if I would have had the idea for the Fate project. So it's around this time, though, around 2008, 2009, that social media was gaining momentum. And at the time, I was very reluctant to embrace it because I'm an introvert, as you probably have already guessed. But one day, as I was weaving, it struck me that a tapestry could collectively be woven using social media and referencing the tradition of artist and weaver playing different roles in the creation of a tapestry. So traditionally, there was the weaver and there was the artist, but usually
Mhm.
in traditional tapestry, the roles were not conjoined. So, um, so that's when it struck me one day that I could combine that role and use social media to bring both, have this international community weave this tapestry together, sort of metaphorically. Uh, um, And thanks to the Ontario Arts Council, I have to say that because they're the ones that funded the initial project. And if it wasn't for the amount of money they gave me to get it going, I don't know if I could have managed it financially. So To include others, like I said, I was feeling isolated in the studio. And I just thought it was, I thought not only could I use social media to connect, to get, to invite people to participate in the project, but I was really feeling like I wanted to connect with other tapestry weavers and textile artists. And so after I received the grant, I posted it on Facebook, mostly at first, but then I also sent out information to the American Tapestry Alliance and other weaving organizations and groups. I was immediately inundated with people wanting to participate. Do you want me to go on explaining how because there's a part, oh,
Here we go. Here we go. Okay.
good, okay. So this, okay, so the piece on the right that you see is the piece that I wove in my studio.
Uh-huh.
Immediately to the left in the gallery itself, you see the smaller panel that was woven by people that would come to woven by the public. So as I was teaching weaving to adults in Toronto at the time, and many of my students and other amateur and professional tapestry weavers participated in creating that panel. So I made, oh, is there another picture of the image somewhere? No?
We've got 4. Do you want me to just keep
Yeah,
going?
maybe
Right.
because there might be one where it shows some of the people weaving the tapestry.
Oh, I didn't get that one. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's perfectly all right. So basically, the cartoon for the smaller tapestry was like at over 400 colors, and I had to prepare all the butterflies. And I set up the loom with the assistance of some of my students and some of my fellow tapestry weavers. And I photographed and video people creating that smaller panel.
Mm.
So in this slide, this is the project at Contextil in Portugal. It just occurred in September of 2024. And so that was very exciting. It was the Biennale de l'Inde du Port International de l'Inde du Port-Neuf. I know that's a big mouthful for Anglophones. They have a wonderful biannual call for entry that any of you could actually enter. It's usually the theme is always linen, and then they'll have some other, more profound theme that goes along with it. You don't always have to use linen necessarily, but you have to refer to linen in some way. It could be any kind of installation. It could also be video, sculpture, you name it. So it's a wonderful biennale. So I brought it up because they have partnered with Contextil in Portugal. And they were invited. The biennale was in Portneuf here in Quebec, which isn't far from me. They were invited to bring a Canadian artist over to Portugal for their international exhibition. So that's how the Fate project ended up there. So far there are about almost let me see, 1,200 pieces that have been submitted from 650 people from 44 countries. And each piece is photographed and in the photograph, I put the person's name, what country they're from. I post all of the submissions on the Facebook page and the Instagram page for each person. They can send me what they want to include about themselves. They have a website, anything they want to say about the project or themselves, their work as a tapestry or textile artist. Is also included. So the Instagram page is the social media site that shows each submission to its greatest advantage, as far as I'm concerned. It's a better platform for the project. And when I can't put the names of all the contributors in the gallery itself, because it's a lot of names now, we post a QR code and you can just scan it with your phone and
Oh.
it'll take you to the website with all the names of the people who have contributed so far. So this
One of the other thing. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say this one is at the Mississippi Valley Textile Museum. No, it's not on the Mississippi River. It's it's in Ontario, not far from Ottawa. So it's a wonderful textile museum. They always have great exhibitions there. Really, if you're visiting Ottawa it's really worth going out there to see whatever they've got going on. They also have like a historical museum of textile machinery there too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I love about this exhibit is how wherever it is, it conforms to your space. You know, it's very flexible and it changes, but it's still the same. You know, it's still the same pieces, but how, you know, how changing it is. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I like that. Again, uh, so that idea of it never being the same, right? And
Yeah.
there's no set plan for it because it's an ongoing project still, and I'm still receiving submissions. And if any of you would like to make a submission, you're welcome to. Uh, just ask Kathy or Mandy for my information, and I'll send it along to you. And so it's ongoing. And my goal is that hopefully one day it'll end up in at either the National Gallery of Canada or the Art Gallery of Ontario. I just think it's a wonderful expression, especially now too. At the time, during COVID, it was meaningful because we were all isolated, and so it was a way of, doing something together. But now I think with the politics going on, I think we could use something that's unifying as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about this project. It's a very unifying, it transcends borders, right? So and those are
Well,
important things.
people are posting the museum information, and
Okay.
we've already put your information in the chat, and then we'll look at it again
Okay.
as we keep going. So, well, what's next for you?
Oh, well, I'm now, I have some new tapestries that I want to weave that are based on, sorry, the flooding that's been going around the world. So it won't be, that evident when you look at the tapestry. And one thing that I've learned is that even when things are sad or bad, something beautiful can come out of it.
Mhm.
That's the way I see it. And then I have my writing has been published, one in a poetry anthology, another is in a magazine that's coming out very soon. Also, what else is going on? Oh, doing the paper making and book making now, artist books. Lots to keep busy,
You're a busy person.
as you are too.
All right, well, we've got questions. Why don't we go to our
Sure.
questions now
Okay.
and see
Okay.
um oh, here we go. This is from Nancy. I think it's Gauss. I hope, Nancy, that's how you pronounce your name. Your sweeping tapestries have such a beautiful drape. Can you comment on the sets and materials you use to achieve this?
Right. That's a good question. All right. And it's funny that you say that because when you looked at ambiguous deliberation, I really liked the density of it, the weight of it. And it was, I just selected materials that were just acquired through, weaving guilds, getting rid of materials. And, I didn't buy new materials. It was very infrequently, and they weren't the most expensive materials. So, but I liked the the way it hung and everything. Then I
Mhm.
went to gravity and I used high-end materials. I used patterning yarn, and I was super disappointed with the the fabric itself. It didn't have the same oomph that the other piece had. It's fine. It's still nobody would have known that I was dissatisfied with it. But regarding set, most of the time I use a set of six, most of the time. And then the smaller I get, then I go to eight, very rarely 10. Uh,
Wow.
mhm.
And what is the main warp that you use? Somebody else is asking that. I just want to make sure we
Yeah,
get.
it's cotton seine twine.
Okay, okay. All right. And what type of loom do you use?
I use something that you can't get brand new and only can find secondhand
Oh.
is a Leclerc Tissart, and I love it. I love it
Oh.
because it's ergonomically probably one of the most comfortable looms to sit at for any length of time. And I think it's too bad that they still don't make those. I think Tommy Scanlon still has one in her studio, if any of you know Tommy.
Why Rebecca Meshoff is watching. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. Rebecca participated in the project, the Fate project.
She said the Fate piece has been displayed in so many places. Do you know how many exhibits it has been in now? And she says, thank you for continuing the project for so long. It continually inspires and is so wonderful to see it exhibited over and over all over the world. That's true. Absolutely. So how many exhibits has it been in?
I think it's about 12 now, and it's actually,
Wow.
when it was in Portugal, it was actually its 10-year anniversary. Exactly, because its first exhibition was in Toronto in September of 2014, and this last exhibition was in Portugal in Guimarães in September 2024. So it was exactly 10 years. It was such a great way to celebrate its anniversary. And you can see, I think I've posted all of the places it's been exhibited on the website page for the project. If
Mhm.
not, I'll make sure I'll bring it up to date so that I've tried to put a picture of at least each exhibition in each place. Sometimes it's just hard to keep up with all of that stuff, as you know. Yeah,
Christine Williamson wants to know, have you combined your poetry and your tapestry together?
that's what's coming up next. I've actually applied for a residency, and maybe, I don't know about the tapestry, but certainly the tapestry, yes, too. But I just fabric weaving too. I want to use some different techniques, maybe jacquard, but also other techniques to
Uh-huh.
incorporate text into the weaving.
I'm not sure what this means. This is from SF. What are the collage paintings that you cut up? Did you weave them too? Interested in those over under images. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So that's yeah, they were woven. Yes,
Oh, okay.
but those were actually woven pieces. They weren't paintings.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And Mary McMahon wants to know, what is the name of the Textile Museum in Ottawa?
It's not right in Ottawa.
Uh-huh.
It's in a place called Almonte, Almonte,
Uh-huh.
and it's called the Mississippi Valley Textile
Oh,
Museum.
okay.
Yeah.
So Mary, I think if you look in the chat, there's all kinds of information about it there too. Um, the ambiguous image.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know how big it was and was it hung in the corner of the room?
Yeah. It was 20 feet by 8 feet, but the way it was hanging, it would have been coming down to 10 feet, let's say. Yes,
Okay.
it was hung up to the top of the corner of the room. Yeah.
Okay. Lynn, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for your interest in my work. I really, it was a gift to have you listen.
Oh,
Thank you.
how could we not be interested? Your work is wonderful. And I'm so excited that you have been in Small Expressions. I hope we'll see you again soon. And I don't like working small, but we love having you in the exhibits. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank you.
much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Uh-huh. If you want to learn more, go to her website. There's a bunch of information there. I know people were asking questions that I didn't get to, but go to her website. There's lots of information there. There's a way you can contact Lynn and you can get more information about, especially about the exhibits. There's information there. So thank you again. And we appreciate you being here today. We also want to thank our sponsor, the Weavers Guild of North Shore. Again, we love it when the guilds come together and they sponsor one of our events. It's like guild to guild support. Thank you so much, the Weavers Guild of North Shore. We are excited that you've done this and we do appreciate it. And you had a wonderful show. I hope you've enjoyed it. We also want to encourage anyone who's interested in being a sponsor. If you, as an individual, your company, your guild, or a group of people, we've had a lot of people do that lately. Groups of people have come together and sponsored. And you can do that. You can go online to weavespin.org tapestries.org, and you can sign up for whatever date you want. If you have a question about being a sponsor, give us a call. We'll be glad to help you out any way we can. We have some scholarships coming up. You can apply for the HGA 2025 scholarships. And it never ceases to amaze me how people don't know about this. We have some wonderful monies available for a variety of artists or activities. We've got the pay it forward. So if you are doing something to help promote the art, that's something that you can apply for. And a variety of amounts of money, but it's a total of $4,000 that's there and open to anybody who wants to apply. Now, the deadline's coming up, but you can get in there, you can complete the form and submit it in time to apply. But go to wespendie.org/scholarships, and it's for any body in the United States or Canada. But again, that deadline's coming up, so be sure you jump on that and apply. Free money that you can go do more weaving. Go for it. We've got Spinning and Weaving Week and Convergence teaching proposals. Those deadlines are coming up. So if you're interested in teaching at Convergence, or if you're interested in teaching at Spinning and Weaving Week, check out the applications. The Spinning and Weaving Week Art Sparks deadline is May 1st. Convergence, the deadline is March 7th. You can go online and go through the application form. It walks you through every step. And I always encourage people, especially for Convergence, submit a variety of links and topics, because you never know what we're looking for. You know, we may need more 90-minute classes than we need workshops, or maybe we need more workshops than 90-minute. If you put in an application for both, then you'll get looked at for both of those. So please do that. There's a 90-minute for Convergence, it's 90 minutes. There's a half a day, there's 1 day, 2 day, and 3 day workshops. So again, get on that May 1st, March 7th. If you want more information, please go to the website. If you have any questions, you can give us a call also. We want to thank everybody for supporting supporting HGA through your donations and through your membership. Your donations help us provide Textiles and Tea, you know, Careers in Textiles, Spinning and Weaving Week, all these things. The money that you donate and through your membership help us keep these programs going, and also helps us look for what's next. What do we need to look at next? What can we provide to our membership? And that's so exciting for us. If you are interested, you can go online and donate, and you can also join online, weavespendie.org. If you missed an episode, you can go back and watch it again through Facebook, HGA Facebook page, or you can watch it on YouTube. And if you like doing the YouTube better, sign up, because you'll get a notice. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll get a notice when we've uploaded another episode of Textiles and Tea. If you've missed any episodes, so you can watch them either way on that with Facebook or YouTube. Next week, we have Alan Brown. And if you don't know who Alan Brown is, he is the one who made a dress out of thistle, that little weed that everybody hates so much. You can make that into fiber, and you can make a dress out of it. We're going to talk to him next week. He's got a fascinating story. So join us next week. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. We will see you next Tuesday. Happy tea.